Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. It's the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. We're past that wild card weekend with all those slow, painful, horrible games. Now we have 4 outstanding games with totals at, near, or above 50 points. I'm going to go through and make a first look lineup on Draftkings so that we can kind of see where we're at. It's Monday morning. It is 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday. We're going to come take a look at what we have here, see what happened on the slate, and there's some very interesting things that have gone on, at least in terms of the pricing on DraftKings. And maybe it's from looking at it through a DraftKings lens. Maybe it's because they've dropped the prices on certain players so that people can feel like, hey, I've got a lineup that I like a little bit more this week. So you're going to see prices on specific players on this slate that seem way too cheap. The running backs especially. Todd Gurley, priced way down from where we're used to seeing him. Ezekiel Elliott, priced way down from where we're used to seeing him. Alvin Kamara, sitting at the same price that he was at around week 16. But in this game at home, with playing from ahead, and they just blew this team out in week 11 in the Philadelphia Eagles, and how much volume Philadelphia allows to running backs, especially through the air. Alvin Kamara's price seems too cheap. Marlon Mack's price is less than was last week. You've got a lot of players on this slate that we're going to want to try and stuff into this lineup, but they also priced up some of the wide receivers at the low end, making it more difficult to go with that stars and scrubs look. But you're going to be able to get some names that you recognize. You're going to be able to get the players from the teams that you want. It's very easy to make a lineup this week from my first glance. So why don't we just get to the lineups and see what we can do. Starting at quarterback, Mahomes and BREES, the 2 premium prime options, in my opinion. Andrew Luck coming in just behind them and obviously priced accordingly. Mahomes has been an absolute god all year long, now squaring off against Indy, who's gotten their act together defensively, especially the second half of the season. Mahomes going to carry a high price tag and high ownership along with him this week. He is probably going to project as the highest scoring quarterback on the slate on any projection system that you look at, but I think that Drew Brees is not that far behind, especially considering Drew Brees' home road splits. 27.5 DraftKings points in games at home, 17.1 DraftKings points on games on the road. And the question that people are going to ask is, well, what happens if they blow out Philly? They blew out Philly in week 11. He had 33.5 fantasy points on 4 touchdown passes in week 11 against these same Philadelphia Eagles, with 363 yards passing in a game they won by 41 points. So if Philly can score some points in this game, if Philly can end this game with 24 points, and let's say the Saints don't score 48, let's say they score 34, that's going to keep Brees' foot on the gas pedal and force him to throw the ball a little bit more. Now, one thing that we know for sure is that I look for volume at every position. Running back, tight end, wide receiver, I want volume. But one position where volume does not get trumped by efficiency is the quarterback position. Brees can get you to 28 fantasy points on 25 attempts. He can get you 34 on 36. He can get you 33 on 30 attempts. He can get you 21 on 22 attempts. Would it be better if he threw it 60 times and maintained the amount of efficiency that he has if this becomes like a game like the Chiefs and the Rams on Monday Night Football? Of course that would be better. But to say that he can't get you 25 to 35 fantasy points because they don't throw the ball a lot, because they have Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara and they run the ball, and what if they blow people out? It's just not true. Drew Brees can get you 1 fantasy point per attempt, and if he throws it 30 to 35 times in this game, which he's probably going to project to do as much. To me, it's 6,700. I think most people are going to pay up that extra 300 to get to Mahomes. And it's not 100% of the times that Mahomes is going to outscore Brees. Yes, he would be odds on to outscore him on a head-to-head basis. But there's a lot of situations, especially looking at tournaments, where Brees could outscore Mahomes. Andrew Luck chasing Mahomes, should have to throw the ball a lot more. We're going to get to this when we talk about NYHEIM, HINES, when we talk about Marlon Mack and their performances mostly recently. Andrew Luck definitely in play for me. Probably more of a tournament option. I'm going to want to try and pay down a little bit because all the studs that I can get on this slate are outstanding, have been priced down, and we can just kind of jam everybody in. So coming down to a cheaper quarterback is going to be in my opinion, the optimal way to make a cash game lineup this week, or a single entry 3 max, 5 max, 20 max lineup for tournaments. Yes, you're going to have a couple lineups that have your higher price guys, but the lineups that have Dak Prescott in them with his ability to run the ball around the goal line, and he got kind of robbed of a couple of short ones this week. He came up just short where his knee came down. He had another one where he was diving for the end zone and got flipped and his head hit the ground. That could have been 2 more rushing touchdowns in this game for Dak Prescott. We know that he's got the ability to score. He's good enough through the air. We've seen that as well. For 5,200, if you can get 18 fantasy points out of him, you're going to be more than happy. He does have the ability to score you 25 to 35 as well. Nick Foles, we've seen BDN do some good things so far. We've seen a massive game from him in week 16. They are going to be playing from behind. I do not expect the same 48-7 sort of outcome in this game. They should score more points, which bodes well for Foles, especially considering now that they're getting Golden Tate more involved in the passing game, at least last week. But the first look quarterback that I want to go with is Jared Goff, playing at home against Dallas with a team total somewhere around 27 or 28, game total of around 50. Home games this year, 28.1 DraftKings points in home games for Jared Goff. In away games, 15.9. The Rams are playing at home. Jared Goff is 5,500 and has the ability to get that 25 to 35 for me. I want Jared Goff, and this does not preclude me from playing somebody like Todd Gurley, assuming that Todd Gurley is 100% healthy. Please do not put in the comments down below. I would love for you to leave me a comment in the section down below. That would be great. Please do so. Leave me any thoughts you want, except, Al, don't you think that CJ Anderson is going to take work away from Todd Gurley? Oh, hell no, I don't. Todd Gurley is going to get the volume that Todd Gurley gets. CJ Anderson might see a few carries to spell Todd Gurley here or there, but this is not suddenly going to become a running back by committee situation. If Todd Gurley is healthy, based on the fact that he just went through a walkthrough on Sunday, this is Monday, Tuesday they have their next practice, which is going to be a very important practice for them based on the fact that this game is going to happen on Saturday. If Todd Gurley is not on the injury report this week, and they expect him to not be on the injury report this week, if he makes it through this Tuesday practice and gets through the walkthrough on Wednesday and everything else that they're going to do, Todd Gurley is going to see the same amount of volume that Todd Gurley has seen all year, and that is amazing considering the matchup, considering the game, considering the team total, considering his involvement in the passing game. I do not mind pairing him with Jared Goff. I would rather pair Gurley with Goff in a cash game lineup and not try to guess which one of his receivers I have to pair him with, whether it's Woods or Cooks or Reynolds or one of the tight ends or anything else like that. I can get away with Gurley. I can get away with Goff. Both of them can exceed their salary expectation, especially based on the fact that Gurley is a 9.5K running back in this offense. He is the first guy that I want to plug in at running back in the divisional round. Now, Alvin Kamara, too cheap. Ezekiel Elliott, we've been riding his volume pretty much the entire second half of the season. It's still going to be good. He's still going to get a lot of carries. He should see, 15 to 23 carries. Unless things go differently. If Dallas gets a lead, he'll see more. He still should see his 5 to 10 targets in this game, 5 to 8 targets in this game, which should lead to 4 to 6 catches in this game. The volume's going to be good. I just don't know personally if I can fit these two guys and get the wide receivers that I want, because when we get to wide receivers, you're going to see that there's not a lot of volume or not a lot of value or volume guys at the low end. I don't know that I want to stock up on a couple of those guys like we could last week with Kiki Kute, like we could with other 3K to 4K wide receivers. I just don't see them so far this week. So really stuffing in 3 running backs is going to be difficult. I think we're going to go high, low. So to me, I would rather have the player minutes remaining with somebody like Alvin Kamara. Plug him in at the flex, which leaves us one more running back to go with. Now, Marlon Mack has seen great volume, but he's seen great volume in games that they've been winning, right? 25. This was a close game, 12. This was a big game, 27. If you think that Indy is going to be playing from ahead, then by all means play a ton of Marlon Mack. If you think that Indy is going to be playing from behind and chasing, then you kind of have to come down and play some more NYHEIM HINES and trim your Marlon Mack exposure. He does have touchdown expectation because I don't think that Kansas City is going to hold the Chiefs to absolutely 0. I don't think they're going to shut him out. I don't think they're going to keep him under 20 points. This is going to be a very high-scoring game. So Marlon Mack could get a touchdown. I just don't think you're going to see this 25-plus touch game out of Marlon Mack in the divisional round. Somebody like James White is interesting to me only because of his pass game inclusion and what we've seen from him in the playoffs in the past. He can reach his 15 points that we want from him. We've seen him do it or get around it. He's averaged 17.3. I don't think the volume's there to warrant it. We do need a touchdown out of Sony Michel for him to kind of exceed value, because his inclusion in the passing game for the New England Patriots is zip, zilch, and zero. So he presents a little bit of a challenge for me to want to play, at least in a cash game lineup. I think he's more tournament worthy. James White, probably my preference there. Eckler, Sproles, not really guys I really want to go with. If you want to come all the way down to NYHEIM Hines, if you can stomach the 0 that he put up for you in week 18 in the wild card round, if you think that this is the week that now he's going to have to be more involved because they're not going to be playing from a 21-7 lead for the entirety of the game and just pounding Marlon Mack all day, NYHEIM Hines is going to get closer to this sort of usage, but it's the same sort of a situation as James White, but the price is much better. The price at $3,300, way better for NYHEIM Hines than $4,900 for White. I do like him more than I liked him last week. I have to choose essentially between White and Marlon Mack and Sony Michel. I'm going to go with White for now at $4,900 for this first look and move on to wide receivers. Let's just plug in a defense. We can kind of see where we are. I'll go with the Chiefs at home for $2,500, leaving us with some wide receivers and a tight end to go with. We can start at tight end. You have the 3.5 premiums, right? So you have Kelsey, who's been an absolute stud, but not priced down on this slate, right? We don't see a discount with Kelsey here. We do see a pretty big discount in Zach Ertz, right? Down to $5,700. Is that the cheapest he's been all year? Yup. Closest was against Houston in week 16. He scored 38 for 59. And against the Rams. Manny, thank you for the host with 111 viewers, man. Big boy host. Appreciate that. Zach Ertz, $5,700. Solid. Eric Ebron against Kansas City. One of the most forgiving teams against opposing tight ends. We know how much volume he sees in the red zone. The most end zone targets of any player in the league. Didn't have a ton of volume the last few weeks. 6, 6, 5, 3. But he's gotten into the end zone twice. You do have a good touchdown expectation this week playing against the Chiefs, and the volume should be solid as well. Eric Ebron is definitely in play for me. I'm going to see if we can get somebody like him or Ertz into the lineup. New Orleans, much tougher against opposing tight ends than is Kansas City, so I'd probably lean Ebron over Ertz early. Rob Gronkowski at $4,600. I'm not feeling it. I'd rather go with Edelman. Blake Jarwin, though, somebody that I do think could see a bounce back week. Seattle, if you were looking for value at tight end, you played him. Maybe you played Goddard. If you did, congratulations for playing Goddard last week. A lot of people pivoted to Shaheen once it was announced that Burton was out, myself included in that game. So if you want to get to Blake Jarwin, if you want to pay for wide receivers, I don't hate it. Seattle, extremely tough against opposing tight ends. The Rams, not as tough against opposing tight ends. Dallas, missing Allen Hurns, possibly missing Beasley as well. So there's less players to catch passes, which means that the volume and the routes run and the snaps and everything else that Jarwin has played recently should see a bit of an uptick this week. I know he's going to be a lightning rod. I already know that some people don't like him. I don't see the problem here. Seattle is a very, very tough defense against tight ends. Only people that score over 13 points against Seattle's defense, if you're a tight end, are ones that have 2 T's in their name. We've gone over this year. I don't hate Jarwin this week. Let's look at wide receivers. Probably going to try and plug in EBRON here for now, but I don't know if we can get to him. That leaves us $5,400. Michael Thomas, the most expensive receiver on the slate and probably my favorite one. We've talked about his home game, its home road splits, 24 points at home, 17 points on the road. Can we afford him at $7,900? It's going to put a big ding in it. Julian Edelman running from the slot against the Los Angeles Chargers at $6,300. I kind of don't mind this. He's seen a massive uptick in terms of red zone looks, inside the 10, and end zone targets this year. At $6,300, I like the value and the volume that we're getting here. Dan Jones, I thought you were a FIFA streamer. We're the Team of the Year packs. I don't know. We'll see. Woods has been priced down at $5,900. Jeffrey right where he's been recently. Like the volume that he's been getting, especially in the red zone since Foles has taken over. I spoke about the fact that I don't really need to go with a Rams wide receiver here. I'm fine with pairing them with Goff in tournaments. I don't know that it's necessary in cash games. I really don't. Dallas funnels things a little bit more inside. That doesn't mean that the Rams can't scheme to get what they want, because they typically do. Love Hilton here against the Chiefs. The question's going to be, Tyreek Hill is somebody that I never fade in tournaments, but I will avoid in cash games most weeks unless there is an obvious and glaring mishap. We know how many touchdowns he can score. We know how the routes that they come on nines all the time. He can take a short one to the house, but he thrives getting down the field. Mahomes can feed him the ball anytime that he can. The issue is we only have 10K remaining. With EBRON, with Edelman, we need to find a value wide receiver. Can I go with 3 New England Patriots here? Chris Hogan saw massive volume last week. 11 targets in week 17, the last week that they played. Only got 1 point a target. We can talk about that later. We also saw Dorsett get 5 targets, one of them in the end zone, which he caught for a touchdown, 3,800. But all of this came after Cordarrelle Patterson was announced out. If Patterson is back, that kind of reduces my want to play Philip Dorsett. I'm still fine with Hogan, but he's a little bit thin as well. As I spoke about earlier, this is all kind of thin down here. Chet Rogers, Beasley questionable with his injury. Benjamin, no. Kirkwood with Ginn back, not really. Pascal, no. He's been usurped by Dontrellle Inman. Now this 4 to 5K range. Inman for 4,800. My issue here is on 15 targets the last 3 weeks. He's averaged over 15 points. He's also caught a touchdown each of the last 3 weeks. For the amount of volume that he gets, this somewhat looks unsustainable. If he does not score a touchdown, 9 points, 12 points, 8 points. For 4,800, for 36, that's fine. For 43, that's still under what you're looking for, but not terrible. For 4,800, if he scores you 6 to 9 fantasy points this week, you're not going to be pleased. So getting a touchdown-dependent wide receiver who's not a massive end zone target, even though he has been recently seen some volume around the goal line, this is this is precarious for me. Proceed with caution with Dontrellle Inman this week. Golden Tate saw more snaps, ran more routes, saw more targets than he has. Still only got 7.3 points in week 17. This week, he did get 8 targets, 46 yards, and a touchdown against the Bears in the playoffs. If you want to ride Golden Tate, fine. I just think that there's a lot of options and a lot of mouths to feed on that Philly offense. I can't really predict where the volume's going to go outside of ERTZ. Alshon's going to get some. Tate's going to get some. Aguilar's going to get some. Spoles is going to get some. But nobody is really eating the way that they were before they had all these guys around and Wentz at quarterback. Foles tends to spread it out a little bit more, and they're going to scheme to get what they want. Ted Ginn, if you're looking for a take the ceiling off guy, ran most of the routes in week 16, saw most of the snaps. He's back and healthy. That's going to hurt guys like Traquan. That's going to hurt guys like Kirkwood in terms of their volume prediction, but it's going to help all the other players underneath. Having Ted Ginn out there helps players like Kamara, helps players like Michael Thomas. So we can't afford the top guys. We need to find somebody in this mid-range that we can go with. I'm fine with Alshon Jeffrey here, leaving us with 4,200. Traquan, no. Robinson for KC, no. But Chris Hogan, I'm fine with that. My issue with this lineup is I have no Chiefs skill position players. Don't have a running back because I don't know who to count on Monday morning. Tyreek Hill, definitely going to have a big chunk of him in tournaments. Not sure I want him in cash. Kelsey's the one that I want, but I don't know that I can get to him and still get a lot of these guys that I think are good enough volume and value players for the salary. So this is a lineup that I'm going to roll with for first look. Appreciate you guys being here. Please drop a like on the video. This is going to be the last first look of the season. Single tier. Would love to hear from you in the comments, see how you did this year. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the content. I'm going to still be producing content through the NFL offseason. So thank you for the support on this YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys being here all year long. And I hope you do well this weekend. Bye, everybody.